How did that end up transitioning to doing the main series with G.I. Joe?
Hasbro loved how I handled the G.I. Joe characters.
Naturally.
So, yeah, I mean, but it was a shock to me because as I said, it was very much about taking G.I. Joe and putting it in a Street Fighter context. And so IDW called, and I think they mentioned they want to talk to me about like a new gig or a new job. And I would have bet that it was something Capcom related because I thought I had just nailed the Street Fighter stuff so good. And I called and they said, listen, Hasbro really liked how you handled the G.I. Joe characters. And they liked that, it was more influenced by the Sunbow cartoons, right? Because that was my wheelhouse. And that's what I grew up loving from G.I. Joe. And they liked the, they all had their specialties. None of them were just interchangeable army men, right? Like
they all had their thing that made them them.
Exactly, yeah. And that was important to me in booking the tournament and choosing who we used, right? Because we don't want to have interchangeable guys. Yeah. Everybody has their own vibe and feel. And they loved that. And they loved, like Crocmaster. Like, I don't know, one of my favorite panels in Street Fighter G.I. Joe is Guile hitting a crocodile with a backbreaker, right? Because it's stuff like that. Yeah, but Crocmaster's in it with the crocodile. He's like the goofy Crocmaster we all know and love. And yeah, they loved that. And IDW was getting ready to launch their new Hasbro combined universe. Yeah. And they asked if I wanted to be the writer of the ongoing G.I. Joe book launching out of the big crossover Revolution. And I said, of course I would. And, my pitch for that was, we're not going to do real world military action. I think we've gone far enough in that direction, right? There's been a lot of that stuff and a lot of it's really good, but it's enough. Yeah. And I can't go any further than what we've already done. And also, it's not really what I'm interested in about G.I. Joe. What I love about G.I. Joe is that it's aspirational and it's heroic and it's gonzo. It's action-packed. There's a ton of plot. Yeah. I went back and I watched a ton of those old Sunbow.
Oh, that's so much fun.
I had them send me.
How cool is that was your job for a point where you're like, I have to go back and watch cartoons. That's freaking awesome.
I loved it though. I mean, and the thing that some things really struck me about it. I knew that G.I. Joe always had a really diverse cast. The very first scene in the Sunbow cartoon, it's like, it's like Duke says something like Duke almost gets hit by a jet landing, and Duke he's like I'm gonna cut your mustard, hot dog, or something really goofy, and then the cockpit pops open and it's Scarlet. And it's like, whoa! It's a girl driving this thing, and this was in the early '80s. So this,
cutting edge for the time.
It really was, man. And so that was a big part of it. But the things that really floored me was how much plot there was. There was just always stuff happening. And you would watch, my favorite parts of the show were the previously on G.I. Joe. Because they had to do the micro machine guy. They had to talk so fast to get it in there. Just rattling off, Roadblock got attacked by giant plants. Duke is fighting a Cobra robot. Snake Eyes is hanging out in a cabin with a wolf. And it's like, what? What is going on in this thing? It's bananas. And they tell you all this stuff, and then they are immediately into more. And just loaded, just constant plot. And so that was the thing we really wanted to do. And also, jokes. There are so many jokes in the old Sunbow cartoon. Yeah. And we want it to be fun, man. So that was it. That was the goal. Yeah, to come in and do big, fun, gonzo, sci-fi action super heroics. My comics wise, my biggest influence on it was Claremont, early Claremont era X-Men. Yeah. It's a big team of weirdos, and they've all got their own drama and arcs and weird stuff going on. And they had a call with John and Carlos Guzman, who became my editor on the book. And we each all of us had made lists of questions. So it was the kickoff call, trying to figure out what we're doing for this thing. And they said, Aubrey, we have a thing we wanted to ask you about, and if you want to do it, great. If you don't, we're not forcing you. It's totally up to you and the vibe you want to have on this thing. And I was like, well, what is it? And they said, well, what would you think about having a Transformer on the team? And I said, dudes, that was my first question. May I have a Transformer, right? Because we're it's a combined universe. Yeah. So that's why we have a Transformer on the team, man.
That's so cool.
And they said, well, who do you want? And I said, well, of course I want Starscream. And they said, well, you can't have Starscream. Starscream is crucially important, and we've got things going on with him. How do you feel about Skywarp? And honestly, my response was, who's Skywarp? and they said, well, he's basically a color swapped Starscream, but he's dumber, and he has a teleportation function that's broken right now. And I said, perfect. perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Skywarp is like our early Wolverine. Like when you still thought like Wolverine was a jerk and like he might snap and like kill everybody because he could if he wanted to, right? So or also, I mean, the other like the better comparison, Skywarp is Vegeta. Skywarp is our Vegeta in this thing, and that's why I told
Always
everybody.
angry, always.
Yeah, and like barely reformed,
Yeah.
right? And like he might decide to kill everybody at any given moment, you know. And so yeah, I mean that was the genesis for GI Joe. We went, and I was really fortunate to have amazing artists working on it with me. Yanni Milaniani, who had worked on Prophet. He was perfect for like all this like gonzo sci-fi stuff and drawing Transformers and laser guns and kung fu fights and stuff, and big underwater bases. Yeah, and we had Aaron Conley on covers, and he did a fill-in issue for us. It's great. It's great stuff. We have 2 volumes of it out, and some decent beefcake for you there.
Beefcake.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it was supposed to be, you know, we called it the crown jewel of the Hasbro universe because I really wanted it to just be everything. I want it to be all of like the big crazy action adventure stuff that you want from these characters. They did their year 2 event, which was called First Strike, and I did a couple tie-ins with the First Strike event with Ilias Kyriatsis, who's an amazing artist, and we did one for G.I. Joe, and then I wrote the Mask one as well because it was like combined. It was Mask with G.I. Joe. It was Mask. Well, I'm sorry, it was G.I. Joe fighting Mask villains.
Okay,
Venom.
wow.
It's whatever. But I don't know. We had a lot of fun. It's a lot of big like robot fights and weird stuff, and
I love it.
That led directly into Scarlet Strike Force.